President Biden set to give his second State of the Union address tonight.
CBS News live coverage begins tonight at 8 p.m. right here on News 3.
The speech comes as a new CBS News poll shows many Americans have a negative view of the country right now. And speaking of polling, the director of the Marquette Law School poll, Charles Franklin, is here with a preview of the speech.
Hi, Charles.
Good to be here.
How important are these State of the Union addresses?
You know, there are different ways in which they're important. To have a president, any president, come and spend an hour or so presenting their programs, what they think they've accomplished and what they hope to accomplish, no matter what, that ought to be an important part of our civic life. So let's call them important that way. Are they exciting speeches that makes you want to record it and watch it 5 times? Probably not. And then on the polling side, we very rarely see that the State of the Union produces any appreciable change in presidential approval. It did it once for Bill Clinton in the 90s, and people still talk about it because it really hadn't happened since.
Well, there are a lot of factors in this particular speech. The biggest change will be sitting right behind the president, Kevin McCarthy, the Republican Speaker of the House now. And for the first time in his presidency, he'll be speaking to a divided Congress.
Absolutely, and it'll be, from a political side, watching how he frames this will be very interesting, because he won't be speaking to Democratic majorities about his programs. He'll instead be trying to set up his program in a way that contrasts with what the Republicans in the House are likely to be talking about later tonight and in the coming session. So there's very little chance that much of Biden's proposals passes a Republican House. But does the speech set up the contrast between what he wants to propose and what Republicans want to do? And how does that play out over the course of the coming year? And
he's likely to list his accomplishments.
Absolutely. People don't learn your accomplishments if you don't talk about them, or so I've been told. I think that every one of these speeches is a combination of, look at what I've done and let me remind you of what has happened over the last year that I was for and that I can take credit for. And it's also setting up the future. What are the things that are my priorities? And again, this time it's more about setting that contrast rather than things you're confident might actually get through Congress this year.
Tomorrow will be a big day in Madison. The president will be here, first stop after his State of the Union address. And is this setting the stage now for 2024?
I think so. I mean, look, we're that purple state that is so close almost every time. The fact that he's choosing to come here as his first thing afterwards really is an affirmation of the role that Wisconsin is likely to play in the 2024 election.
What are you going to watch for tonight?
I'm going to look for how he sets up the contrast with Republicans. Does he talk about things that in principle sound kind of moderate and things that you might go along with, or does he set up things to be a sharper contrast with the GOP? We're going to have a fight over the debt ceiling. We're going to have a fight over the budget. How does he frame those issues? And how much does he try to take credit for the things that he's passed that maybe the average voter hasn't really noticed, hasn't paid that much attention to, and he wants to claim that credit?
And he hasn't gotten credit for a lot of it.
This is true of almost every president, that they do pass some things, even some really major things. And then when I poll on it 6 months later, an awful lot of people are not aware of that having gone through. So it just shows that the presidency has to be a constant selling job, a constant job of reminding people what you think you've accomplished.
8 o'clock tonight on CBS. Charles, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Charles.